here we are. It's not Tuesday.
No,
but that's not. Okay. We can do this on a Monday. Monday. All we have to do is compete with like sports and stuff. Jesus, what are you doing to us? I hope no one came here drunk, David. You're going to fuck them up. If you didn't come here drunk, you're in the right place. Crack them open, because this is Brewing Controversy. I'm Lucas. This is David. And we're a couple of typically ill-dispositioned leftists that also happen to love craft beer. The nature of our relationship was to sit around and grouse about the world and gulp down some quality local or craft imported to our area brews. Brian's here. Ahoy, Brian. If you're here, say hello. Feel free to chime in. We also love to feature the comments, so if you're out there in Watchy land, feel free to contribute. David's starting early on the cigarettes. You can tell he's got something under his skin today. And that, of course, is why we start this whole thing off with a little something we call Hot Take Quickies. So, David, what's on your mind today?
So, first, hold on, Lucas, hit the button.
Yeah.
Hit the button, Lucas.
Yeah. It's time, ladies and gentlemen. He's been waiting for this one for months.
Hit the button. There it is.
It's time for a Musk boner alert.
There it is. That's what I like to see. So, yay. On this show, told you months ago, not going to do it. He's not going to do it because he's just an asshole. He's just a giant fucking asshole. And I'm going to be honest. I don't know what Twitter's going to do. I mean, a lot of people in Wall Street have been saying, well, they should
hold on. You're assuming that everyone is as obsessed with your hate boner.
Musk.
So in case you've been living under a rock, you knew that Elon Musk was trying to buy Twitter. Now, I've seen so many ignoramus dumb fucks out there talking about, oh, I'm so glad Musk fixed Twitter. I can't wait to see what happens when he gets done. Or thanks, Elon, for this and that. And it's like, he hasn't owned it yet, you fucking idiots. And he hasn't done anything, morons. And then all these people, oh, it's going to go straight back to hell now that he's going to leave. Like, he was never there. This was a deal in negotiation, and he fucked it up because he lied about his fake ass money.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't under negotiation anymore. It was finalized. It's just a matter of multiple sides have time to what's called complete performance, right? Performance on the contract. Twitter actually hands over the shares. Musk actually hands over the money. That's called performance on the contract. So back to what I was saying.
There seemed to be a piece of that missing, which would be the money,
right? Because Musk was going to make this a straight cash deal, right? $44 billion, and that's why it was relatively for a company this size, and for a purchase of this size, relatively low numbers at $44 billion. This was supposed to be a straight cash deal. Musk was going to borrow the requisite amount of money based upon the value of his Tesla shares, and guaranteed $15 over whatever Twitter shares were at the point of performance. So that had been keeping Twitter shares running very high compared to a lot of other things, while the stock market has been doing cartwheels left and right of going up, going down, 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 going up a little, going down, down, down. Twitter's been relatively unaffected simply because everyone knew, well, at the very least, whatever I paid for my share of Twitter today, I know that as soon as Musk hits performance, I will get $15 more per share, right? Yay! But like I said, Musk had no intention of ever doing this, because the problem is that he would have had to have leveraged his shares so heavily that he would have put himself in a really sticky position financially if he ever needed money for anything else.
Right?
So I knew he wasn't going to do this.
You called it.
I really wonder if Twitter's board either deluded themselves or set Musk up for a trap. I don't know which they did. Because at first they were
smart enough for the trap.
Yeah, I don't think they're smart enough for the trap. I think they just deluded themselves that he was going to do this. But of course,
and it is kind of awesome that they're going to probably go after him. Olivia's here. Hi, Olivia, and joining in the cackling.
Yep.
About the suing him to enforce the contract. Like, I love the idea of him having to lose money with his uncontrolled lawn sprinkler spectrum kid routine that he pulls in public with no governor at all. I
Right.
love that. I love that it's a warning to all basement dwellers everywhere that like to go off half-cocked and say dumb shit, usually in Twitter, that sometimes it shit costs you money.
Yep. Well, and on top of that, here's the thing. Right now, Wall Street wants this whole episode to be over. I don't think Twitter wants this to be over. I think if I'm on the board of Twitter, I want my fucking $15 per share. Right? So Musk went all the way in. I mean, it's not just the tip. So if I'm Twitter, I'm going to demand what's called specific performance, which in other words means you have to complete the deal.
Yeah.
And Wall Street wants this to go away. They want this to end. Elon definitely wants this to end because the values of Tesla shares has been falling. That's what really scared him off this deal, right? That's what really soured him. If Tesla shares had stayed steady or maybe even or gone down just a little, he would have been okay with it. The problem is the longer it took him to try and actually make this deal happen, actually, if he had completed this deal within 72 hours, he would have been fine.
Yeah.
Instead, he kept on dragging this out. He couldn't because he's too stupid and too much of a moron to complete the deal. And so the longer he dragged it out, the further Tesla shares went down, the more Tesla shares he would have to put up as collateral to back the loan for cash that he needed to buy Twitter.
Yep.
So it was never going to happen. And I'm so, I mean, this is my shocked face. This is, oh, look, it's Colin. Hey, Colin.
It's Colin here. Colin's here. Hey, hello from New Mexico, home of green chilies and the first nuclear testing. I like that. I like that phrase. Speaking of dangerous shit in the air, you were on about like a day or two ago. You were on about the bad look of Boeing, and I hadn't even paid attention to this piece of news, but it is part of that only in America comedic corporate horse shit. Oh, I said it. Now I have to use it. It's horse shit. Live in the steam and call it out. Tell us what your take is.
I mean, it's just really incredible after what happened with this entire controversy of Boeing not telling pilots and airlines, hey, we installed this MCAS system that radically changes the behavior of the plane. And you should receive training on it. But even more fun, even when it does work properly, it's entirely possible for it to just slam that thing into the ground like a lawn dart. So
and the whole idea behind that was the issue with the 737 MAX,
right,
which has now apparently been addressed,
right.
But they wanted to cut a bunch of corners. They didn't want to have to qualify it as a new aerial technology that would have created a whole lengthy process, which would be the proper thing to do, the proper process, the proper thing to do for safety and training and everything else, the shit that you are under the impression that this heavily subsidized government teat fucking corporate welfare industry would be held to. Instead, they invented a new system, but crammed it into the umbrella of another system and then gave it like a one-liner in a manual and said, good luck. And they were fortunate enough for their propaganda that it was only brown pilots from shitty little countries that crashed. So then they made it out like, oh, well, the brown people are stupid. That's why they crashed. And if you need to understand this, there's a great documentary that you've been recommending for a while, Downfall. And is it Netflix? It's Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah. Downfall is absolutely fantastic. Don't watch it right before you fly, but definitely watch it to be an informed.
Right. Especially if you look at, you're looking out the window at your plane being like, that's a 737 MAX.
I've been on a couple. Wow. It's been fine. But, that's now that everybody learned. the hard way.
Now the FAA said, in part because of what happened, they're like, hey, we need you to put in this new safety system. And Boeing is asking for an exception so that they don't have to put it on their planes. I mean, I gotta say, that's some balls. That's some big that you gotta have some balls to be like, we killed a whole shit ton of people
Only in
because
America.
we lied. We lied to the FAA, we lied to the NTSB, we lied to the pilots union, we lied to airlines, we lied to everyone. And now we are looking you all dead in the eye and saying, we want an exception to safety regulations. Jesus.
Sometimes laughter is the only coping mechanism.
I mean, what? You gotta be kidding me, guys.
I'm still holding on my one hot take, but let's get you through your list. Your last item of things up your ass sideways today was some gun reform banter.
And we're going to talk about this more in the main, but yay, we finally got some gun reform passed.
Some tiny half-assed gun reform.
No universal background checks. No, I mean, at the very minimum, that's what this should have contained, is universal background checks. At the very minimum. Nope. We closed the boyfriend loophole and cracked down on straw purchases.
Yay.
That's not the big problem.
Ish.
Oh, we encourage states to institute red flag laws. Not required, encouraged.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many fucking gun fetish dipshits I've seen all over the internet freaking out about, oh, this has to be defeated, this has to be fought, no red flag law, bruh. And I don't even understand these assholes. Well, I do understand. They're people that beat their families, and they're abusive, temperamental pieces of shit that have had a lot of legal trouble, and they know that if we take enough regulation into account, they're going to be disqualified from owning a gun, like they goddamn should.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you're a felon, you shouldn't own a gun.
Yeah, they got to be able to beat their wife today and shoot up a supermarket tomorrow.
Well, I mean, again, it's all about their power fetish. And you're right. It was a half-ass measure. It was sad and depressing that it did what it did, and
or that it doesn't do any more than it does.
Yeah.
Well, I have an interesting conundrum with one of the current topics in the buzz. So, for those that don't know, the Georgia Guidestones were a thing and are no longer a thing. And it's funny because you see people out there projecting all of their own bullshit. You see people on the right projecting on the Georgia Guidestone topic that it was a satanic leftist fucking blah, blah, blah. You see people on the left, weirdly, deciding that it was a right-wing fascist such and such. And in reality, it was kind of always just that's neat. Somebody thought of those 10 ideas for when we finally fuck ourselves and have to start everything over.
Well, I mean, you
could read good or bad into the stuff that was on there, and you can go Google it, look it up. But basically, somebody bombed it. They bombed the shit out of one of the 4 pillars that holds the damn thing up, and they ended up having to demolish the rest of it. Now, it's only from the 80s. It's not exactly an ancient piece of history. And as John Oliver so wittily points out, like, Georgia doesn't exactly have the best track record of etching shit into stone. But basically, it has different interpretations depending on people's lens. Some people said, oh, New World Order, bleh. It just said international government and courts and, stuff that I don't hate. It said stuff about nature balance. It says stuff that might be eugenics. Yes, Brian. Yep. If you choose to decide that keeping population limited is meaning that you have to subtract people, which isn't exactly the scenario that it appears this thing was designed for. It was kind of meant for, okay, when you all blow each other up and there are 6 or 8 of you left, come to Georgia and have a repopulation orgy, but stop at 500 million. That's it. Not too hard. By the way, John's here. Moisture enters the chat. So yeah, we're talking about, moist monuments. So, it's interesting to watch everybody spin because you have right and left going, yeah, fuck that thing. And I'm over here centering in on only thing that matters, which is that crackpot right-wing politicians recently have called for its destruction, and then lo and behold, it's destroyed. And I think what we've all learned from January 6th is that if you even hint that something should be violently confronted, your dipshits are gonna go do it. So I'm convinced that the right-wing bombers are who did this shit.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, without question, this was a right-wing issue. MTG had already called for some sort of, destruction of this thing. I feel like at this point they're just doing dry runs for civil war.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're doing. They're just doing.
Well,
Hey,
they may not even know it. They may not even have any idea what they're doing. They're just
I am 100% positive
experimenting.
that MTG and the rest of them are know precisely what they're doing. They're showing that they can do these dry runs and get people to do things and get people to perform acts of violence, which they are convinced will. And what I'm really scared about is that all right, if I can get them to blow up this thing, can I get them to blow up a polling station in Fulton County?
Right.
Can I get them to blow up a polling station in Philadelphia? Can I get them to blow up a polling station in Detroit?
Can I say enough dance right up to the line shit to incite domestic terrorism where I don't have to take the legal blame?
Well, I mean, but that's the thing, is that they're not even
Buford and Cletus to get out there
with fucking Garland in the driver's seat at the DOJ. I don't think they're even concerned about taking legal blame. Right?
That's a good point. They could just straight up tell people
there and be like, "Yes, go bomb things, kill people, do it." And they know the Republican Party. They know McCarthy won't punish them. They know McConnell won't punish them.
Right.
They will continue to call for more and more violence, and no one will stop them.
That's a good point. It's a very good point. Well, we usually end up with some kind of somewhat dark note right before we go into this segment, but we like to kick off before we get into our big topics of the day. We like to kick off with a little segment about our beers. That is part of the reason that we're here, to give unsolicited opinions on brewed, carbonated, canned, or bottled beverages. And I'm gonna kick us off. I'll start. You go second. But before we can do that, we want you all to make sure you got your drink, or in Brian's case, your smoke in hand for what you drinking. All right. So I had a little meeting on Saturday with if you can imagine, I had a meeting with a middle-aged woman from West Michigan that is a self-professed Republican who is also tired of a lot of bullshit that she's seeing and thinks we have a lot of stupidity floating around. And we were able to sit down and talk about nonprofit things in the area. Particularly, she has a tree planting nonprofit. I know, a Republican planting trees. Holy shit, there is a reasonable middle somewhere that is just getting shouted down and apparently not holding their party to be very accountable. But that meeting took place at one of my favorite breweries nearby. So I popped over to City Built and tried a couple of different beers. I've been there before, but I decided to take home Werewolves of Michigan. Now this is a I totally forgot to put the variety in the subtitle, but it's an IPA of the American variety, 6.9%. I am mostly just obsessed with their label artwork, and I'm over here like desperately trying to de-sweat the can because it's just too cool and it has to be seen. So here we go. Let's zoom in here. Look at this thing.
Oh, wow.
It's intricate as fuck.
That is impressive.
It's textured ink and shiny ink. Either that or it's got translucency showing the can, but it's got shiny spots and it's got textured spots.
I think it's got translucency showing the can.
If you take it way back here, you see the wolf, but if you get up close, you see all this like really intense, culturally informed art. So this place is run by some Puerto Rican guys. So the food is real good and very interesting. and the beers are pretty creative in their concepts, and they throw in a little bit of voodoo culture, some New Orleans shit going on. Like, it's a really neat mix of what they do over at City Built, and you'd never know it, City Built Brewing with this like little bridge star logo. I mean, you wouldn't drive by and say, "Oh, Puerto Rican beer place." But yeah, it's really inspired can design to me. As far as the beer, it's good. It's very good. It's not holy shit, and I've never had an IPA like, or an American IPA like that. And it's not, oh, gross, why does anybody put that in a bottle? It's straight down the middle, very good. It looks nice in a glass, but it's not really begging to be seen. I think it's a great pint can to enjoy in its art form as it is, and keep it instead of losing the can. So I really enjoy it. I would highly recommend all their stuff. There were a couple that I couldn't take with me. They didn't have in cans that were in their IPA family. They're pretty tasty. Anyway, what you got?
So I have Tailgate's Belgian Single.
Oh, thank goodness it's the simple one first.
Right? No, yeah, we're not going to do that crazy Polish stuff until later.
It looks like a cat rolled around on a keyboard. The second beer that he's got tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
That's how you know it's actually Polish.
Yeah, tell me about it. I live in a Polish neighborhood. I feel you. I still by the funeral hall at the end of our road, going Auschwitz brothers. Yeah.
What happens when you try and take a Slavic language and slam it into the Latin alphabet? This is what happens. So this is the Belgian Single.
Okay.
I mean,
so you've never, like, we did a lot of live broadcasts from
Tailgate.
You never got around to that one. Beer.
No, this is brand new.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that part of the series?
No. So
okay.
here's what Tailgate has done. Tailgate has, and I learned this from them, which is that, so apparently they have taken the utmost precautions with this, because Belgian yeast is so ridiculously infectious. Like, once it gets out of control, it's impossible to stop. Apparently, and they told me the story. Apparently, they wouldn't name the brewery. I'm guessing it was Jackalope.
You've told me about this. Somebody had
apparently
a overgrowth.
Yeast, gets out.
Yeah,
you have to basically take every piece of equipment that's in that brewery and throw it away. Because you can't stop it. It'll get into every other yeast. It'll get into every other beer, and it'll intermingle with whatever yeast you wanted to use, and just completely destroy every beer that you're trying to make. Right.
This sounds like it'd make a really fun video game. Like,
right. So they set up
roam around a brewery cleaning up demon yeast that won't stop.
Exactly. So in order for them to brew Belgians, they set up a brewery in Chattanooga.
So this is out of my favorite old spot in Chattanooga then. This is out of the old Terminal Brew House building.
Right. So they set up a brewery in Chattanooga, because the idea is that the yeast would die by the time, or be inert, or just, not non-confrontational. I don't know. By the time you got from Chattanooga to Nashville, right? If you were driving. So about 3 hours outside of its happy little home with nothing to eat, it should be done. As long as, relative precautions were taken.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is their first real attempt at a Belgian. I think the one thing that I'm missing from this, it's got great carbonation. I don't know if you can see, it's still bubbling. It's got nice little. It starts out pretty fast bubbles, moves to about medium bubbles. I'm not upset about the carbonation. I'm expecting, given that it's a Belgian, it almost feels like they tried to make a Belgian, and there are technically things now called a Belgian IPA.
Mm-hmm.
But this feels very IPA-ish. It doesn't feel I'm not getting the banana notes. I'm not getting the spice notes that I would normally expect from a Belgian. In the same way,
Hold that thing up again. Hold the glass up again. That is so weird, dude. I'm looking at the pictures. I wonder if the color is inconsistent across this beer, because yours is a very ambery, coppery color. And one of the photos from Tailgate, like I can tell it's Tailgate. It's the, partially eaten pizza on the table.
yeah,
This was a photo that somebody took of this beer when they turned it into Untapped for a review. Is more like a pale yellowy.
yeah, and that's actually what it is. I think you might be getting some light contamination here.
Maybe.
It is actually a light pale yellow.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Because I was over here looking at it, I'm like, what the fuck is he drinking?
Here's the thing: is it a bad beer? No. Is it what I expected from something that wants to call itself a Belgian? It's not as strong as I would normally expect from that category.
Gotcha.
So
well, my relationship with Belgians, I approach with extreme caution because of that one time at that Belgian tent at the East Nashville Beer Fest. So
I don't even remember this story, honestly. So
it's the worst hangover I've ever had.
Oh.
And I got home at like 6:30 after the festival, and I was already starting to pass out when the friend that I went with was walking out the front door. I remember saying bye as I laid down on the couch. I woke up at 11:30 p.m. 5 hours later with the worst hangover ever. Like, I couldn't even go to bed for the night. I got the hangover fucking at the end of the night. So
I mean, it's maybe that's one of the things. This isn't super high alcohol. This is only 6%.
I don't think it had a lot to do with the height of the alcohol. I think it had a lot to do with the internal access and knowing people to get in the Belgian tent ahead of time with no limit to the pour.
Oh, well, that might do
and
it.
The chemistry of Belgians, for whatever reason, just,
Well, it's the carbonation. So, I mean, Belgians have typically have really the yeast that gets used in Belgians typically produce a ton of CO2, right? Like if you've ever tried to have someone pour Guldendrach straight from the bottle, it's a goddamn nightmare. They actually, for Belgians, they very often have a spoon that is specifically designed just to pull head off the top of the beer because it produces so much carbonation when it hits. It's maybe a little bit of clove would have helped this out. I mean, it actually does have banana flavor to it, like that banana flavor that you normally expect to see. It doesn't have it doesn't have any esters. It doesn't have any of that. Like the phenols in it are good.
It's funny how we talk about beer in terms of like banana and grapefruit and all this stuff. It makes you wonder what would have happened if humanity encountered beer before all the fruits.
Well, we did encounter beer before all the fruits.
Well, it kind of depends.
No, we did. I'm pretty sure the Egyptians weren't like, you know what? This tastes a little bit like pomegranate. No, this tastes like bread. This tastes like bread.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you could toss a coin on bananas versus beer for some cultures, as far as what came along in the taste.
I mean, it's just a way to describe the flavor.
Yeah, it's just funny to me. Like, I'm imagining reverse society of like, this fruit tastes like a Belgian right? Instead of the other way around.
But I mean, I think I'm just looking for a little bit more of that clove note.
Yeah.
That I expect from a Belgian, and I'm not.
Now, is that new territory?
It may be because I'm doing this from a growler and not directly from the tap. That's very possible.
Yeah.
Because I got yelled at the other day about like, well, this isn't how like this is really supposed to be served. I'm like, great granddad did it this way. I don't know what you're talking about. Our ancestors, like our grandparents and great grandparents, used to just go to the brewery with a bucket, right? Fill up the bucket, take the bucket home.
I have a feeling there was a less discerning review process involved. So,
But I mean, it may just be because I have it in a growler.
well, also it's pretty new, right? Like it might not quite be perfected.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think I get the impression that they're playing around. I mean, it's tailgate. They like to play around with a lot of different stuff. They're highly experimental all the time.
Well, and that's a
And
pretty damn new space. Like they only recently acquired that property. For those that have been to Chattanooga, it's right next to Chattanooga Choo Choo Hotel. It used to be called Terminal Brew House. One of my must do's when I was in Chattanooga, and conveniently, the hotel was also where all the geeky conventions tended to be. So it was just out the front door and a little bit to the left. Discovered a couple of great beers there on accident, including a an anniversary red single cask situation where they just did the short-term release. It was very good.
I don't understand in the brewing industry why we don't. I love reds, and I wish there was something other than Killian's all the fucking time.
That is true. There's not a lot of presence of red. Like you could throw a dead cat and hit an IPA anywhere.
Right. But I mean, I really love reds, and I wish more people would make more reds, because they're great. As you say in the beer world, a session beer. In other words, yes, I'm going to sit down and drink like 14 of these. Okay.
Well, the only other thing that we have to do in this break is give the honors to our friend Brian, who is so kind to show up with his own substance to review. And given the circumstances of the social landscape combined with the fact that I live in a legal state, I decided we would give him his own little graphic. So when he drops in his download on what he's enjoying, we can have him appropriately recognized. Yeah. So tonight is something special for our inaugural Monday session, torching up some Wedding Crasher, smooth vanilla flavors, wedding cake, sweet grape notes, purple punch, mellow, earthy, 27% THC, calming and relaxing.
Now, all right, I want to point out this, Lucas, you were talking about like how we describe flavors. When did wedding cake become a flavor description? I mean, on ice cream now, wedding cake ice cream, birthday cake ice cream.
Well, and what is the real difference?
Birthday cake ice cream tastes different than wedding cake ice cream.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't understand is like, what even is the difference between those? I don't know. Also, Olivia's in agreement on your shortage of good reds. More reds, that needs to be a thing.
It's got that malty, it's got that strong malt and that strong hop finish. I'd really love to have, without having a lot of nut flavor, like a dunkel.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit of maple syrup, a little. So, it's not. It's lighter than a brown.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does fit a space that isn't served well enough. I think.
No, I mean, I wish we would have more of those. I think the problem is that they aren't very good when it's hot. You don't want to drink a bunch of those because they can feel a little heavy after like one or two, as opposed to an IPA where you can just keep on being like, yeah, another. And but like especially in winter, like I like porters in winter. I like stouts in winter. I like porters and stouts in summer too because air conditioning is a thing.
Thanks to the wonders of modern technology, these beers can now be enjoyed year round.
But I wish we had more reds. It'd be nice. And okay, Olivia has an explanation for the difference.
Oh, yellow versus white cake. Yellow has almond notes. Birthday cake traditionally buttery. Huh. Okay. All right. I guess I can get behind that. The reason it doesn't strike me is because I've never been a big yellow cake fan.
Yeah, no.
Especially.
Yeah, yellow cake was the stuff Mom made when she was like not wanting to do stuff.
Fair point. Well, you know what? That's a good segue because your mom is an example in this next topic, and I mean that in the best way possible. So you pointed out to me something that I've started to hear a little bit about. And you ran into it with your mom, last week?
Yeah, well, because I'm really afraid. I'm afraid for my mother, and I'm afraid for I'm very afraid for my mother because it directly impacts her. But I'm very afraid for women everywhere.
Yeah. Well, generally speaking, we're facing a situation where a combination of rock stupidity and ignorance is meeting up with the buzz of what's going on. So you have a lot of just idiots like pharmacists. There's stories about pharmacists like, oh, well, I can't fill your birth control anymore. Why? Because the law changed. No, idiot. It
No,
didn't
no, you know,
change.
and I want to point out to everyone who's watching, if you ever encounter a pharmacist who says, "I will not fill your birth control or your prescription," then you point out it is now incumbent upon you to go find someone who will, because it is not the policy of this location of any company in the United States not to fill a prescription. So you can feel whatever the hell you want to feel about it. Like, here's the thing, and I've talked to people about this. If Muslim cashiers at a grocery store, I feel uncomfortable selling alcohol. Okay, well, if someone comes up and has alcohol in their cart, hey, go grab someone else and they'll check them out. And don't make a thing about it, right?
Or this is I'm going to dance over into the territory that some of the people don't like me to dance into. Fuck you, go work somewhere else.
I mean, and that's the
and
other
I know
thing.
people are going to say, but Lucas, people need jobs and you're not being nice to the service industry. Nah, sorry.
No,
if you
no,
went
okay,
to a grocery
work in the
store that you know sells booze, you just need to do the fucking job.
I work in the service industry. And are there jobs in the service industry that if you're Muslim that or if you're a very devout Muslim that might work for you? Sure. I don't actually know where those are. Like at my work, we serve pork products.
Yeah, right.
So you don't want to be handling pork, and we sell booze. You obviously don't want to be selling booze. I don't really know immediately what position you could have where I work, but I'm sure there are places in the service industry where they don't serve pork, and you don't necessarily have to serve booze. Okay, go work there. Vegan restaurants. You can go work at a vegan restaurant. There we go.
You know what? One of the best meals I ever had at a restaurant was a vegan Muslim soul food restaurant in South Atlanta. It was fucking incredible. I don't know if it's still there. I need to make it a point to go back. But holy shit, like I've never been faked out so convincingly with mac and cheese. I don't know what the cheese actually was. I'm sure there will be a lengthy scientific explanation from Olivia shortly, but whatever the fuck it was, it got away with it, and it was damn good.
Well, and I also want to point out, like Nashville has a rather substantial Muslim burger chain called Fat Mo's.
Yeah,
and most people don't realize Mo is short for Mohammed.
Yeah, a lot of Bubbas have no fucking clue. Yeah,
and they serve. Like, for instance, they make a big point of, we don't serve bacon. We serve turkey bacon. And it's actually pretty good. Like, a deluxe burger from Fat Mo's is an event to be remembered. It's really good.
I've never been because I don't think I knew if they would have any alternatives for my type, my non-red meat type, but maybe they do.
I mean, they have shitty alternatives.
Well, that's what you think.
No, I mean they're not good. No one likes.
They're objectively bad.
They're objectively bad. I mean,
because one of the best black bean burgers in the known universe is over there at what's the place by the old Sound Stadium? Gabby's. Holy shit! Oh my god! It's not quite. It's less like a burger. And it's more like someone emptied a can of black beans in a format that convincingly looked like a burger for the first bite or two, and then it just becomes this delicious mess. But they also have the most ridiculous sweet potato fries. Like literally, there's like a guy in the corner with a machete that comes in with a bag of sweet potatoes and just and then they go into the fryer.
But anyway, back to the point.
So your mom, who is, no offense, old and definitely not part of this birthing discussion,
but the problem
is getting blockaded on lady meds.
Well, I mean, but she hasn't encountered it yet. But the problem is that there's indications that's where it's going in red states, which is she takes a particular drug that she needs because she has a medical condition that definitely requires anti-inflammatories. And they are essential for her quality of life. And the problem is that several of the drugs that she takes, if you were pregnant or could become pregnant, are abortifacients, which, if you don't know what an abortifacient is, an abortifacient is a drug that will cause an abortion. Or basically, if this drug is present, it will convince the uterus that it needs to eject whatever's in it.
Also known as stock up on all of those while you can, ladies.
Right. But not so. And I'll go ahead and say the drug's name. I was a little hesitant about it, but I'll go ahead and say the drug's name. Do not stock up on methotrexate, because this is one of the other dangers about methotrexate. Methotrexate, your body very quickly becomes dependent on it. You can't just stop methotrexate. If you're going to stop methotrexate, you have to very carefully with your doctor step down the dosage,
right?
Like over like a 4 month, ideally over like a 4 month period of stepping down the dosage.
Basically,
no more.
Basically, this stuff is starting to fall into the. It's kind of the other side of the gender coin on the "every sperm is sacred" gag, the old Monty Python joke. Except they're taking the "every would-be fetus is sacred" approach. The cluster of cells, soon to be an unforgiving parasite that destroys your body, must be protected at all costs, even if it's the potential of impact to completely unrelated health concerns that happen to be connected to the same.
And here's the thing that's awful about this, which is there are tons of women with rheumatoid, psoriatic, all types of different arthritis, all types of different, methotrexate can be prescribed for eczema. Methotrexate can be prescribed for all. It is a great. It's very much what penicillin is to infectious disease. Methotrexate, in very many instances, is to inflammatory diseases. Right, things that cause inflammation of the joints, things that cause inflammation of or on the skin. It's used for all sorts of things. But the problem is, if a woman is taking methotrexate and she has sex and conceives, that egg is not going to last long, right? Depending on the amount of methotrexate present in the blood. But now you have entire states banning. And it's not even an official ban. It's, well, this is an abortifacient. We can't prescribe this anymore. And this is the scary thing to me is, do you walk up to your doctor? Again, you have to step down off this drug. Because my mom at certain points for certain surgeries and for certain, health events has had to step down off the methotrexate.
Okay.
And it's a long process,
right,
to step down off the methotrexate. You can't just not have methotrexate. If you just pull someone off methotrexate, you're going to make them very, very sick, very, very fast. Likely not fatal, but it's not going to be good. And
they might feel like they wish it was,
right.
I mean,
but now we're to this place where we're banning drugs because you might become pregnant. We're already Thomas's little fucking decree of, well, we're going to go after contraceptives. It's already in place in these places. They're already doing it.
So much of this is based on just absolute abject ignorance, and I say this as a person. I've enjoyed.
No state legislature has banned methotrexate. You have
Right.
doctors and hospital administrators forbidding the prescribing of methotrexate and other drugs that could be abortifacients.
Well, and you know what that is.
Out of control.
You know what that is. That's corporate medicine at its best. That's ass covering. That's, oh, well, shit, we can't do this because it's a 90-day supply to the patient. And in 60 days, if they change the law, then somebody's going to come back and get us. It's the kind of questions that the proper public healthcare system would never ask itself.
It is the highest form of cowardice. And honestly, I want to look at those doctors and be like, I'm going to be very honest. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what your religious beliefs are. You took an oath. You took a Hippocratic oath to do no harm. Now, you can modulate that oath a little bit to try and justify, well, I'm not going to do I'm not going to perform an abortion. And you know what? For you as a doctor, I was kind of okay with that point. Now, I was not okay with, well, I'm not going to do it because we've already had deaths from women with ectopic pregnancies dying on the table because you have doctors trying to figure out if they're allowed to perform a life-saving operation for a pregnancy that is completely non-viable, right? It's non-viable. It will just simply kill the woman who has an ectopic pregnancy. I mean, because most people don't understand, if the uterus is not just simply, oh, it's the happy place where the where the baby grows up. No, the uterus is a containment system, because if that fertilized egg isn't in the uterus, it's somewhere else attaching itself, trying to draw nutrients from something that's not designed to give it nutrients.
Parasite.
And it will kill.
I know, these baby obsessed fucking Karens, they cannot deal with the reality of the science at hand. It is a parasite. It is just this side of the fucking alien critter. It is going to destroy you from the inside out unless properly contained. It was never intended to be a kind process. It is nature propagating itself. Like it or not, the species must survive. It will eat you from the inside or be contained in the bumper inflated bowling alley that we fucking call the uterus.
And the thing is that it is astonishing that we're to this point where life-saving drugs are being denied to women.
It doesn't astonish me. It's par for the course at this point.
Well, no, I mean, it is astonishing to me because you have doctors going along with it. I mean, I can't. I honestly,
doctors are no longer doctors, David. They're just district managers in a corporate monster.
Honestly, when we see the other side of this, I really feel like there needs to be a very brutal conversation with the medical profession about, you stood by and you did this. You looked at your Hippocratic oath and said, do I really have to do no harm? Is that really a thing? And I say this as someone who normally defers to professionals, right? I get really angry at people. I mean, one of the things that pisses me off about the right wing is that I like to call them work thieves, because, like, for instance, when they try to say, well, I know the law. No, you don't. You didn't go to law school. I went to law school. I did the work. I had to do the work if I wanted to pass my classes. I had to obtain knowledge and prove that I had that knowledge. You never had to do that because you couldn't hack it.
Mm-hmm.
Same with a doctor, right? When people are like, I know medicine better than a doctor. No, you don't. That doctor had to go to school. Even if it was a shitty school, they still had to go to school and learn medicine and take tests to prove that they knew about medicine.
The shittiest doctor school is 5 times better than your GED, Cletus.
Right? I mean, it pisses me off when these people stand up and they say, "Oh, no, I know the law." No, you don't. No, you don't.
Or dumbass knuckle dragging redneck nurses that spent so much time Karening hard against masks.
Right. I mean, like, no, you went to nursing school.
I understand the science. I'm a nurse. No,
you weren't good enough. If you were good enough to be a doctor, then you should have gone to medical school.
Yeah. You got what you needed to get hired, and then you stopped learning. You consciously chose to no longer intake information that was intellectual and new, and you just got as far as you needed to do whatever the fuck it was you needed to do.
I mean,
that's why I feel like I really like the fact that the nurses I know or have known haven't been that type that just got there and just floated.
No, I mean, first of all, this is not to be down on the nursing profession at all.
No, of course not. There's shitty dumbasses in every profession. Nursing just happened to expose a shocking volume of them in 2020.
Right. And I want to point this out. This is how stupid the right is. The Hyde Amendment is a constitutional amendment. No, the Hyde Amendment is this stupid thing, and we're going to get into this here in a second, that Democrats have gone along with for 40 goddamn years, that gets stuck on to everything that says no federal funds can be used to support abortion. And it's not a constitutional amendment. It's this stupid, backroom backslapping agreement.
It's a bill amendment, right?
Yeah, it's a bill amendment. It gets added to bills in Congress on a regular basis. It is not a constitutional amendment. It is this stupid backslap agreement between Democrats and Republicans that, hey, we're going to avoid a conflict over this. This is before we decided that we're going to trash road. We're going to avoid a conflict over this by putting this amendment into all these bills that say no federal funds will be used for abortion. And at this point, you know what? I want to say, if it wasn't for Manchin and Sinema, we should actively refuse to put the Hyde Amendment in a single goddamn fucking bill ever fucking again. Because, Republicans have crossed the line. They've crossed the line with this decision, and they're crossing the line right now with denying women vital medical care. Not based on, and now it's not even based on you are pregnant. It's based on, well, maybe one day you could be, and therefore I'm not going to give you proper medical care because you're a woman.
Because you're a pea pod for our babies. I mean, it's just, it's so gross. Anyway, I have been very concerned about the issue, and having you bring up a practical example is really interesting to me. And earlier I was gonna point out, I take a lot of shit from people because I have some of the typical male, like, nope, I don't want to know about it. You keep your Venus cup in the medicine cabinet. Don't talk to me about it. But at the end of the day, I learned about stuff and I understand stuff. And when people were wondering why we were all up in arms about health class, this is fucking why. Because some of us paid attention. We might still use all the euphemisms for mommy and daddy parts because we find it more fun. But we actually learned how shit worked. And today we're seeing the amazing amount of ignorance about how this whole thing works, how the female body works, how the process of reproduction, birth, pregnancy, all of that. There are a lot of dumb motherfuckers on both sides of the can be and can't be pregnant spectrum that have no fucking idea how any of this works or what any of it's about and any of the real stats involved.
No, I mean, but more importantly,
it's
they
just
don't mind
mind-blowing.
More importantly, here's the thing: they don't want to know.
No,
and this is one of the things that pisses me off. Again, as someone who's gone to law school, as someone who's had to go through higher education, through postgraduate education, it's not easy, right? You have to give up a lot of time. You are definitely not having fun. There is no fun being had. You try and make fun, but at the end of the day, your life is kind of a certain special level of hell while you're trying to get this done. And the fact that these people take it upon themselves to try and explain, and one of the things that makes it even worse is the biggest consumers of abortion services are not liberals.
Yeah.
They're conservatives. They're the ones because liberals be like are like, hey, birth control and contraceptives. Yay. We'll do that. We're going to do family planning, right? It's shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking that you're like, why? I mean, and you just killed your daughter, your sister, your wife, because she's less than because she's a woman.
I like this point that Olivia makes. There's so many guys out there that don't even know how women pee, and they want to have
Right.
opinions on our reproductive health. And I gotta say, any dude that doesn't know how women pee also has a few other lacking pieces of
You
information.
do not know where the little man in the boat is. You do not know where that is, do you?
Yeah, if in fact, that should be like the number one question when a woman sits down at a Tinder date. Like,
Right.
hi, thank you for coming. I'm glad we could have dinner tonight. Do you know how women pee? And if they say no, they go home because there's nothing good coming of this night for you, ma'am.
No.
Yeah, I like Brian's point. Should only be voted on by women.
Here's the thing. I feel
like that.
Here's the thing. It makes it silly when we say that. This is an issue that should only be voted.
For me, I'm just worried about these Stepford bitches that would take over and still vote, for the babies.
But again, here's the thing. Every time their little Susie Rottencrotch comes home and because she was playing with Billy and Billy wanted to show what was in his pants and play with it with Susie Rottencrotch because neither of them have had health education. And now Susie Rottencrotch needs to go to that doctor to have that situation addressed because you know
what it is, though.
Stepford wife isn't ready to be grandma yet at 32.
You're not going to appreciate this as much as I do, David, but I think a lot of that ties into the crazed religious shit because they believe that no matter how many things they do wrong, they're still saved.
Well, because I want to point this out. It's not actually religious. At this point, I want to look at the Southern Baptist Convention and honestly the Roman Catholic Church as well, and be like, at this point, and I want to be very specific: the American Roman Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church in Germany, the Roman Catholic Church in France, the Roman Catholic Church even in Italy, is not this nuts. The Roman Catholic Church in North America has gone off the rails. And I for one, am fully okay at this point with saying, and I laid, Brian and I got into a thing the other day about this, let's tax churches. And here's how you set the tax scheme, which is you bring in X amount of money. Y amount of money has to go out the door for verifiably charitable causes. You feed the poor, you house the poor, you provide medicine, you do whatever the hell you need to do. Not fake medicine like pregnancy crisis centers. No, you have to actually provide medical care. Here is antibiotics. These are, fine. If you want to have a pregnancy center, here are prenatal vitamins. Here's the ultrasounds. Here's a licensed OBGYN. Right? You want to do that? Fine. I'm fine with that. You don't get to go buy a plane. You don't get to go buy cars. You don't get to go have a $4 million house off what you're pulling out of the collection.
Never mind the ridiculous live entertainment venues that these tax-free organizations are able to produce. It's disgusting what churches are doing with their savings.
As long as you can prove that 90% of the money you pull in goes directly to charity, no tax. Everything. If you hit 20% not going to charity, that extra 10%, that's right there, right?
Tax.
That's taxed. If it's 40% that you're not giving to charity, that's taxed. If you're a pastor, you know what? If you can't prove that your church is within that 10% threshold, this is what we pay in salaries. I belong to a sect of Christianity that's so concerned about people's well-being. We don't even call janitors. We give them special religious names for cleaning the church. Yeah,
I've got to know what you call a janitor.
They're called sextons.
I'm sorry, what?
Sextons. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
You weren't kidding about the special religious names part.
Right? No. They are not called janitors. They are called sextons because they are cleaning a church, and therefore, if they are cleaning a church, they do have a clerical function, and therefore, also means that they don't get taxed on their wages.
Yeah, okay.
So
Well, we might need one of those to clean up because it's time for another round. If you've been holding out, it's time to crack them open, ladies and gentlemen. We'll dive into the big topic of the night right on the other side of this little beer chat.
you go first because I have to pull the cork out of this one.
I just saw you chugging. I was like, I don't know if that means he's going to try to jump in or if he's going to need to do
Well,
something.
no, I had to chug because now I have to pull this out.
Well, I've got a repeat a little bit. So this is Elk Brewing, which has since departed us. Elk Brewing, rest in peace. This was the brewery that closed a few weeks back. I grabbed a few beers. I've reviewed this one before, but this is the Caleb's Coconut Craze limited edition herd series. You can still find their stuff out there in stores, so they're not like, dead and buried, but definitely on the slab. This oatmeal cream stout is packed full of chocolate and coconut and is sure to drive you crazy for more. It's a cream stout. I enjoyed it the first time. This is my dessert for the evening. Oh. I'm just going to wipe that on the shirt. It exploded a bit. Still all the chocolatey glory that I remember, and I still don't detect as much of the coconut as I would have thought. I was kind of hoping, it would gradually be more obvious the more of them I drank. But the coconut part is just not very forward in this one. But it is definitely a nice, smooth, chocolatey stout.
Oh.
I think one of the things I like about chocolate stouts is they remind me of dark chocolate because of the bitiness of being a stout. There's like just an inherent bitiness that gives me the vibe of dark chocolate. I don't know that you could pull off milk chocolate via beer because there's just not going to be that soft, smooth thing very easily. You might could. I don't know where that would fall. But I like that it always just kind of feels like dark chocolate. You are clearly having a thing. You're having an experience over there. So let me just roll around on the keyboard for a minute and introduce whatever the fuck this is.
Jesus.
Now, I just, the one that I was just sipping, a 7% chocolatey stout. You're in an 8.3%.
And it lets you know that it's 8.3. It wants to make that very clear to you.
So this is a lambic.
It is a lambic.
But it's a lambic that is dark as fuck.
Right? It is. This is just pitch black.
And lambic is usually a good beer for people that say, well, I'm kind of into wine, but I don't really know if I like beer. And you can introduce them to lambics, and usually they learn about beer.
This is sour as fuck. Man, this is sour.
So this is the episode where David turns into a little shrunken head from Beetlejuice.
Right? No, this is like pulling every last bit of moisture out of my mouth. It's good.
Where's John when we need him? You're just talking about pulling moisture out of your mouth. This is perfect.
Right. It's a creek, so I mean it's blackberry is what it's based off of. But
so this is Brewery 3 Fontenin.
Yes.
That is the brewery.
And I don't know what the hell a droof is. I feel like that's a type of lambic that I should be familiar with, and I don't. Creek is always blackberry. That could be that Droof is another fruit, because typically these are named after the fruit. It's likely that Droof is the name of another fruit that I don't know.
Well, this is here's the description that they give on Untapped. It's a little scientific. For this Droof Creek, we blended Belgian Dornfelder. Yeah, two huge fucking German words. Anyway, 50-50 proportions. We use both young and 2-year-old Lambican, originating from 9 different barrels and 9 different brews.
So they use this, what's called the Solanen method.
The combined.
So just to explain for those who aren't familiar with this method, sometimes when you pick up like especially Spanish or Portuguese wines, if it doesn't have a year on it, the reason is because what they do is they take a little bit of fresh wine that they've just squeezed and they add it to an older barrel. And what they do is then they keep on saving a piece of each cask of wine and rolling it over to older and older casks and mixing them. That's why they can't give a year, because you have some of the wine might be 12 years old, some of the wine might be 8 years old, some of the wine it normally goes at 2-year intervals, but it's this mix of wine that you're looking at. So it sounds like they use that same method with this creek.
The combined maceration took 8 months, and the final fruit intensity is 510 grams per liter, whatever that really is, of sour cherries and freshly pressed skin macerated grape juice. Is that what you're getting?
It's yeah. I'm gonna go with yes.
Successive maceration of grapes and cherries on lambic, natural fruit without the addition of syrups or sugars.
Yeah, which is
Unfiltered and
typically like
unpasteurized.
for most of you who might have seen stuff, you're going to get a lot of what's called framboise in the United States. That's the most easily accessible one.
Yeah,
that places have, and
like Flying Saucer used to be a big spot for that.
yeah,
I think they're closed now, right?
Yeah,
in Nashville. Yeah.
In Nashville, yeah, they're out of the baggage building. Sadly enough,
I mean, that gimmick can only live so long when you've got a shit ton of breweries.
Well, I think there's a whole list of issues there, but I mean, this is definitely one of the more, as lambics go, this is not gentle. This is not something I would give to someone who is like, I don't know about beer. I'm like, here, try this. Oh my god, I really hate beer. Keep all beer away from me. Is what would probably happen with this. This is intense for what I would expect from a lambic. This is super intense.
Like I have a mental image of some kind of Norse cosplayer. You're like, here, try this.
Right? Because I would definitely do that with like mead or something. Like, here, I actually sold someone on trying Belgians the other day because they were like, I only like gin and tonics. I'm like, try this. I'm like, oh, okay, I get this.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But I mean, this. I mean, I'm sweating.
That's kind of great. I like seeing something that catches you a little off guard.
Right? I'm sweating on this. This I mean, it's good. I would not like. I'm not going to kick it out of the bed for eating crackers. But it's going to be one of those things that we're like, honey, we can't do that every night.
And by Norse cosplayers, yes, I was maybe envisioning your husband and his buddies, Olivia. So that, it sounds like I would want to try it. Is it coating the glass?
No, it's not.
I thought I picked up on like a purple tone on your glass.
I attribute that to the mixture of the Belgian yeast on this.
Yeah.
Which again, most lambics are actually produced with Belgian yeast or wild yeast. Which I know we're giving today. I'm giving everyone a little bit of brewery lesson, and I apologize. So wild yeast is you just leave stuff out and you wait for wild yeast to simply infect whatever you are letting out and let it ferment whatever is there. I've actually seen places that do this. It's not as weird as it sounds, because yeast is a pretty common fungus. It's a pretty common thing in the air. The yeast is all around us all the time. That's how we discovered freaking bread. Right? We just these days we just cultivate certain strains of yeast on a regular basis to produce consistent bread. But back in the day, it was just wait for the wild yeast to show up, and then we'll make the bread. I don't know what method these guys use. I'm assuming they use a cultured strain of Belgian yeast. But yeah, this is intense.
So explain how you're ending up with all these extremely German beers. Is there a run going on, a theme at Red for beer club people?
I think there's a couple of big buyers that come in on a regular basis, like the Einger that I had last week.
Yeah.
There's a guy apparently who comes in every single week and literally buys them out.
Yeah, I think you might have mentioned that. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean,
sense.
I feel like where I'm buying from right now, for the most part, is for the most part, I'm buying from Red, and they're definitely encouraging it because it definitely. I get the impression that it definitely drives regulars like me to continue to show up at a liquor store on a regular basis and not be like, I have a problem.
Makes sense.
So I think they're definitely trying to appeal to regulars a little bit more. I don't think they're trying to appeal to me simply because I don't have I don't care, right? I'm just like, hey, show me something new, right?
Right. Well, you are asking for creative selections, and that probably leads to some of it, and good for you. Well, let's dive face first into the big banana. So David and I have spent some fair share of time grousing. I think there's this mythology, and you might have some thoughts on this, and maybe folks in the comments have thoughts on it. But my read is, and maybe it's because of the old adage that Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line. Maybe they all think we automatically worship whoever the fuck it is that comes through our relatively shitty primary process and ends up elected president. Because you see all these people out there who just can't wait to try to stick it to you because you must love Biden. And in case you were born yesterday, we're not in this because we love Biden. We're in this because we love freedom and liberty and the country. And the closest thing we were given was fucking Biden. But right now we've noticed this phenomenon of Biden the wallpaper. He's a guy that happens to be president with a vice president that basically doesn't do anything.
Which is sad. I want to point that out. That I as you and I have both noted, like when Harris first announced her candidacy, I was excited about that, and now
you were Harris early on,
and now
I can't. We're having
like
an argument. I think in the early stages of the primary, you and I were having an argument about. You were all about Harris. I had a lot of problems with her messaging and presentation, which turns out I was right about.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you were right, because the thing is, she has I feel like without any sort of immediacy, she has completely fallen down on her. I want her to go to a speech class at this point.
But the really crazy shit was that at that point in time, I think you and I were having a discussion about how I was just going to go ahead and throw in the towel and support Biden because I felt like he was the preordained selection. and I would do my duty and go vote Bernie, but I was going to just prepare for
Right.
Biden. And I ended
you
up, that ended up being accurate, but also the Biden that I thought I was into was a different Biden. The Biden I thought I was into it was the guy that told that fucking asshole in the car factory where to go that one time.
Yeah.
That's the guy that I thought I was trying to get. The guy that's a little bit loose, says some shit that he actually meant when he was off guard, and it turns out to be the truth that no one wants to hear, and he would just keep gaffing it, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't do any of it. And I don't get it, but I don't know if Brian meant or if he's making a joke. I'm a Buttigieg gay. I actually do like Secretary Pete, and I'm glad that he's now a Michigander.
No,
he has changed his residence, relocated here, and I wonder if that is an indicator that he might be after the governorship here.
That would be my thought, is that Buttigieg thinks that his next step up is going to be taking over from Whitmer.
Maybe
Whitmer after her next term.
I would be down. I've admired Pete. In fact, there was a brief moment in that
bullshit, Brian. Bullshit.
Brian says typo. Yeah. It's too good of a joke. I don't know if we can.
No, Brian. No.
Apparently, old Pete was across town at our airport today, doing a little talkie about some federal grants that are going to improve 8 of the ramps to airplanes or something. Anyway,
I think
Olivia. Oh my God, I fucking hate this concept, and people don't understand. I like Biden less than they do. That's the thing. It's like, we're willing to take one for the team to do what must be done, and that side is willing to basically sell out the entire republic to bend for Trump.
Right. I mean, yes, I voted for Biden for president. That doesn't mean that I necessarily was excited about voting for Biden. The only thing that excited me was no more Trump. Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
That's
quite
about
honestly, I don't think I would cross. I'm not ever going to cross over.
Not anymore.
I'm not going to waste my vote.
Not anymore.
In the independent land.
No. I mean, here's the thing. If there was a genuine independent who had good ideas, who was running, I'd consider it. And he or she had support, or they, for all I care.
But we haven't ever, even with Perot, we haven't ever had anything more than just a spoiler for one side or the other. And we're not gonna until we change the system.
No,
and
Perot had a genuine chance. There was the independent movement had a chance with Perot, and the only problem is they chose to hang it on a guy who was, and this is how independents get painted. And I don't necessarily know if it's always unfairly, but it is there, which is that they're nutty.
Really though, I don't think he could have carried that shit across the finish line.
He got close. He got closer than a lot of people have in a long time.
Well, that's fair. Well, this is a good time for me to debut our newest show graphic. David, you knew it was coming.
Uh-oh.
We don't really have much to talk about to credit this with, but we did decide we would adopt this one. So now we have a Biden. Now we have an I did that. We're just kind of curious what in the fuck it is that he's doing, because
I mean, here's, and someone pointed this out, and it was on Meet the Press the other day. And it was a Democratic representative, I want to say from Florida. And I'm going to forget the name.
Bless their heart.
Right. But I mean, it's the issue is they're like, Republicans are just turning around and burning everything down. They're not playing by any sort of rules anymore. And Biden keeps on trying to play by some rules that no longer apply. Right.
You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me, and some people that watch this show understand what I'm talking about, and you may or may not, but there's a lot of black and white footage of pro wrestling. You know, you get all these guys and they got the fucking, you know, the pants are up here. You know, there's no belly button. It's all chest. It's all barrel. And they have like 3 to 8 moves, and it's all traditional, weird,
So
borderline Greco-Roman, but pre-planned.
Yeah.
It's all those guys. If you tried to drop them right in the middle of fucking Vince McMahon, WWE today,
it really is. It really is.
And that's where he's at. He thinks that he's gonna hike up his old black and white wrestler waistband, and he's gonna grapple with somebody. And by the time he gets the pose, there's like a flying fucking 60-pound Latino coming from behind him, wrapping around his entire fucking face and getting a 3 count.
And you know, one of the things that has been pointed out is the thing that got that Trump got, where he got Republicans, where he got them to switch over to, I'm going to be okay with this, was, I'm going to go beat up the other side. And here's the thing. Do I think that's constructive? No. But the problem is, if you're the other side and you're getting wailed on, I want the guy I'm cheering for to stop trying to be like, oh, I'm like the guy with the pulled up pants. I want him to stop trying to throw the half and be like, oh, ha ha, ha ha. I want him to be like, you know what? I'm going to put an elbow in your fucking face.
Kick you in the fucking balls.
Right? I mean,
you could also make the same analogy about boxing. Biden's like your classic black and white Irish pugilist. And here comes, you know, you name it, right? Any fucking boxer in the last 20 years.
Yep.
But particularly Mike. I don't know who some of the classical boxers are, but pick a name versus Mike Tyson, and that's where we're at.
No, I mean,
one of them wants to be honorable and knock gloves and not hit below the belt. The other one is out with an appetite for fucking earlobes.
And right, and it is shocking. Oh god, I'm sweating so much in my eyes from this thing. It is like, and again, it's so like the gun bill, right? In any other point in history, would this gun bill be justifiable cause for saying, hey, we did something? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it would.
In like the 80s.
In the 80s. Even in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right? Even in the aughts. Right?
Maybe.
It's a little rough, but yeah, we can do this in the aughts.
If you did it against the actual presidents that were in place, then yes, George W. with this gun bill, I could have celebrated.
Right? I mean, we've accomplished something.
Yeah.
I think the issue that we're looking at is, and here's the thing: I understand that Manchin and Sinema are a thorn in the side, and God knows, we need Fetterman in the Senate. Warnock should come out of Georgia on top. But we Nevada should be safe. A lot of these places should be safe, but we need to pick up something, right? We need to give ourselves some breathing room in the Senate. We need to try and turn Ohio back. We need to try and get fucking Ron Johnson. I never met a QAnon conspiracy theory that I wouldn't fellatiate publicly with a butt plug in my ass in the middle of Constitution Avenue. We need to get him. We need to get rid of him, right? We need to get rid of some. We need to
somebody go get the gimp,
right, dude? Seriously, I feel like that like I don't know. Is Ron Johnson the gimp, or is he the guy who like holds the? Is he the guy who holds the gimp's leash?
Is he the gimp
guy
or the
getting
gimp
fucked by the
fetcher?
gimp? I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously the GIMP is there somewhere. I just don't know what part like Ron Johnson is playing in the part of like the GIMP process. um
Maybe he's the Bruce Willis of this particular Pulp Fiction story.
I don't know. Like
No, because Bruce Willis was redeemable.
right. Ron Johnson just seriously isn't. But I mean it's I mean, like the thing is that we have to acknowledge that things aren't going to get like what Biden's course of trying to make things incrementally better at this point is not working in the way that it's expected. And here's the thing.
Well, the thing
Lucas
is,
and I are regularly
defend...
on board with this whole idea of a victory is a victory. Incrementalism sucks, but at least you get something as opposed to
I defend incrementalism
for a fucking grand slam every single time.
When you can actually measure the increment, I defend incrementalism, but this is like watching a glacier change. It's just it's not. And here's what gets me the most. He should be able to good cop, bad cop. Back to Kamala. She should be the raving leftist lunatic screaming about shit all the fucking time.
But the thing is, he's angry at her, and which is again, it goes back to Biden's incremental, like Biden trying to play by different rules. I mean, all accounts were that Biden was so pissed off by her slamming him during the debates, which is where apparently this all really stems back to. Kamala got a good shiv strike in, and between the ribs, and made him look weak and stupid and ancient. And
right now, weak and ancient, I would agree with. He's by far not stupid, but I just, the last time they had somebody this old-ish, they still managed to make him into a convincing spokesperson for the free world. Reagan, just as like Reagan could fall off a bicycle, Reagan could trip up some stairs, and none of that shit would matter because they could pull the string.
And he had Dan Quayle as his fucking
vice president, and he would do the thing.
Not Dan Quayle. He had George Bush Senior as his vice president.
Mm-hmm.
Blah 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 blah. Well, blah 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 blah. I will not increase your taxes, and then I will.
So what blows my mind the most is his weird sense of the honorable old school DC. He's living in the time of Kennedy in his head.
No, I don't think he's living in the time of Kennedy. I think he's living in the time of Reagan. Because
maybe
for all of Reagan's bluster, Reagan could go down to a Democratic Congress and get things done.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's true.
He could talk to people and well, and not him personally, because obviously he was too busy trying to figure out how to bring a spoon to his own mouth. And trying to remember, the name of his wife and children, and all the rest of that. What day is it today, Mr. President? Furnace Day.
Today? What's today? The day AIDS kills fags.
I don't even think he had that much competency at the end.
Ooh,
anyway,
I definitely think he felt that AIDS was the gay killer.
I don't think he actually cared. I think most of his staff cared.
Maybe. So the big thing that I don't understand is his lack of deference. He could totally still be him, but he could unleash the younger, hotter-headed people. And then just the fact that our party isn't willing to play brutal hardball and go primary people, that's the thing. Like, if anything, you would turn Kamala's liberal outspoken knob all the way to 11.5, and send her ass to West Virginia to help primary that motherfucker. Well, I don't
the
even
thing
know
is,
if he's up right now, so maybe I'm wrong about that.
he's not for another 2 years.
Or send her after the world's most disappointing bi woman. But whatever, like,
Yeah, do it.
Send the attack dogs. It doesn't have to be the main guy. Trump likes to be the attack dog, and a lot of this feeds into why I have said for a long time, we need a Trump. We need an asshole that says shit like it is, cusses on the mic, goes off half-cocked, except has a command of facts, math, and science and history.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't think we've ever had that guy. Fetterman might be close.
Here's the thing. Fetterman might be close, and honestly, if we can keep Fetterman upright and get him to the Senate in 2 years, I would like to see him starting to get his exploratory committee together. Because I mean, he has a great story. He has a powerful electoral block already built in Pennsylvania. California's safe, New York's safe, but you can send Fetterman into Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
You can send Fetterman into probably not West Virginia, but you can definitely
send him here.
You can send him to Michigan easy. You can send him.
Most of the men in Michigan are like him.
Yeah, and you can make a case with Fetterman that I think it's harder for Democrats to make with. I mean, Biden kind of has it, but he doesn't really simply because he's from this older school, and I think Fetterman is who I'm really looking at as a potential candidate. Possibly even if Biden looks around and says, I don't know if I have the support, I don't know if I have what I need. I think Fetterman is a good candidate to put up and say at this point, because I mean here's the deal. I'm a Warren fanboy through and through now. But but Warren's going to be too old in 2 years.
Ooh, but she's not too old to be VP.
Yeah, she is.
Is she?
If I were Fetterman, I would go for someone even younger. I think
Let's play that one out. Let's play that one out in just a second, because this is so like last week I pointed out to people, like, this is the shit that you and I would always do. We would get to that point where the buzz is nice and rich, and we start playing like we would start playing like political D&D in our imaginations over a table of beer. But I want to throw this opinion in from Olivia here, the presidential dynasties. So yeah, Reagan, Bush, the Clinton, and then Clinton again, and then Biden thing, that fits the dynasty model. I don't know that Obama fits the dynasty model.
It really doesn't. I don't
he
really
fits
know
the dynasty model on the second term.
Sasha isn't up for office.
Well, no, I think I see, and Olivia, tell me if I'm misrepresenting you, but I think I see the idea here. If you think of Obama in the second term, that kind of starts to read a little of the dynasty thing, because he became part of the machine. One of my biggest complaints about Obama is he went to Washington and sold out. And it's not that he sold out to the political class or any of that shit. He sold out to whatever pressures in the party he was confronted with. And yeah, okay, got thrown in there, had Clinton in the cabinet, and gave us Biden. I don't know that he gave us Biden. I think that had there been no Barack Obama, you might have seen a fight between Hillary and Biden.
I don't think so, because Biden doesn't want to fight anyone. Hillary's hungry. I think Biden in truth, and I think that's part of the problem, is Biden in truth isn't hungry. He isn't hungry for legacy. And the only legacy that I think Biden was after, and I think this is part of the problem of what is happening and what happened with Biden, is Biden wanted to reach the presidency, and then
he didn't have an idea of what he would do with it.
His goal was, I mean, in the same way that Trump was a loose cannon, because he was rageful and angry. All he wanted to do was prove that he was rageful and angry and get a following
and break shit.
and break shit to prove that he could break shit. I think Biden wanted to get to the presidency to prove that he was presidential, and that was it.
And I think he believed that his legacy would be as simple as I untrumped the nation. And I don't think that's the situation that we're in.
That's not where he's ended up, right? He's ended up with actual crises that need to be resolved, and the problem is that
he doesn't have the result.
He's not a guy who wants to actively go out there and fight for change. He wants to let the machine digest and find a solution that's okay for everyone. But the problem is that there's no one on the other side who wants to deal with him.
He arguably believes way too much in the system that most of us acknowledge, even both sides of the proverbial aisle. And when I say both sides of the aisle, I think we had to make a very clear analogy. There might be an aisle, there might be sides of the aisle, but there's also a whacked out shaman rappelling in from the gallery above.
Right. I mean, I think we need to acknowledge that the fundamental workings of in the 1980s, the idea that that our government was near collapse was not present. And I think at this point we have to acknowledge, first of all, that there's a very real possibility every single fucking day of tomorrow we could be involved in a civil war, an active civil war. And literally, I think it's hard for most Americans to accept, but we are at that point of political instability that literally it could be tomorrow. We could all wake up and the Texas Republican Party has proven that it could be a problem. That tomorrow we wake up and Texas has seceded from the Union and is attacking federal troops in Texas. And has now been joined by DeSantis in Florida, right? I mean, the reality is that tomorrow, every day now, right? We wake up in an America where tomorrow we could be at war with ourselves.
Let's play out that other headline that we could wake up to, which is Biden declares not running in 2024. So, and honestly,
and here's the thing, especially if we lose the midterms, I want Biden to do that. I want to make this very clear, because I feel like if we lose the midterms, then we need to acknowledge that no, Biden, this is on you, because you could have gone out there and fought for, right? You could have gone out there and been angry and fought and galvanized people to go fight for the democracy, go fight for the republic, go fight for basic human rights. And instead, you sat by and tried to say, well, I can't do anything while the Supreme Court mandates that women, because a state has decided that women are less than people, that women are going to die. Because a state has mandated that they worship gun Jesus rather than anything else, that people are going to die.
Well, I mean, that daffy bitch in Georgia that railed on the Guidestones, her fucking the bus said Jesus, guns, and babies. That was her slogan.
You have one side legitimizing regular political violence, and you Biden want to stand there and be like, well, we're just going to rely on this imaginary center that's somehow going to prop up the republic while we're going through this crisis. The problem is that center, unfortunately, President Biden, that center has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, both because of economic policies, which gutted the middle class, which you haven't done. You've done a lot of lip service, but you know
not a lot of doing.
Here's the thing. Trump would regularly do things. We're going to be like, well, that's going to go to the Supreme Court and get overturned. I mean, this is one of my Biden is weak things that pisses me off.
He doesn't
Hey,
try.
Biden, you know what you could do tomorrow? You could say, you know what? Because of this Supreme Court decision, I'm going to mandate that the U.S. Postal Service is not subject to state law. And so, if people want to deliver abortifacients to people through the U.S. Postal Service, that's not you. The state cannot touch that mail. That is the province of the goddamn federal government. You don't touch it. He could do that today, right?
Yeah.
Could it be challenged in the courts? Yes.
Would
But
it take some years? Probably.
But
Olivia
but he-
points out in this hypothetical, love Bernie, but his time has passed. I actually think Bernie Sanders should literally work in the Senate until he's found dead in his office. I mean, he's a gem. He's an American icon, and good for him. But you're right. The moment has passed.
Well, and also, I will always level my same criticism of Bernie Sanders that I have always leveled, which is the moment Bernie finds and understands a fucking balance sheet will literally be a fucking monumental moment, I feel like, in U.S. politics, because Bernie Sanders talks a lot of shit, but then he somehow doesn't understand how to tax, like, what tax rate do I need for it? How do I pay for it?
Yeah.
Who gets it first, right? And what schedule should I roll this out? He's great at talking about, hey, we should have this. And then I'm like, okay, how are we going to do this? And this is one of the reasons I signed on to Warren once Harris became a non-entity, was because Warren would show up at the podium and say, here's my plan. Here's how I'm going to do this.
So let's play this thing out. Let's say Biden does what I would consider the right thing. I think it's the right thing no matter what, but I think if the Democrats do not have vast losses in November, he will read that as a wrong-headed mandate. You know, like he'll think, oh, well, we're okay, then I'll stick around.
I want to point this out. If we do put Fetterman up, and we were asking who his VP should be, there it is.
Who the fuck is Porter?
Oh my God. You don't know who Porter?
No, David. I don't know who fucking Porter is.
Representative from Michigan, I think. Yeah, Michigan.
So now I'm going to look it up just in case you're wrong.
Absolute numbers freak. Porter is...
Katie Porter?
Yes.
California.
Whoops, my bad.
Wrong coast, homeboy.
Well, anyway.
Katie Porter, the nerdy chick with the glasses.
Yes.
See, if you had said the chick that looks like a librarian and is always right about everything, I would have been like, oh, that girl.
She is fantastic. I love Katie Porter so much. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
I would have Katie Porter's babies.
Concur. So, yeah. I concur. Absolutely. Delightfully sassy.
Right,
I love
because
it.
the thing is,
She's
she
the
knows, like,
absolute
whenever.
best.
Here's the thing that I appreciate as someone who's been trained in law, which is one of the first things they teach you about courtroom performances. Never, ever ask a question you don't already know the answer to. I love that Katie Porter shows up every single time and knows the answer to the question. She's asking it because she wants to hear you squirm like a worm on a hook because you don't want to answer it. And when you lie, she's going to be like, now you're my bitch.
All right, so let's play this thing out. Biden does the right thing after the midterms and says, you know, he channels his inner Carter and he says, I will not seek my party's nomination for the office of President of the United States.
Well, Carter did seek the nomination.
I thought Carter just
Carter lost.
Who bailed? Ford?
Ford
Who
did.
bailed?
Ford bailed.
Ford bailed. Okay, pull his inner Ford. I would not consider that the wrong choice in either scenario. I'm just worried that he would read any survival of Democratic supremacy this fall as a validation, a confirmation.
If and I think the Democrats should hold on to maybe pick up some seats in the Senate. I'm less sanguine after the gerrymandering about the House.
Well, anyway, let's say
at
he
least
steps
after
down.
my bitching, magically after my bitching, Heidi Campbell is going to run for District 5 in Tennessee. Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate that, because otherwise the state Democratic Party looked at District 5, and that used to be a reliably Democratic seat before gerrymandering. After gerrymandering, well, probably not, but at least they managed to find someone to go say, no, there will be a Democrat running for District 5. Jesus Christ. You know what? I have no doubt that it was the bitching of people like me who were like, are you that much a bunch of slack-jawed, worthless idiots that you won't even run anyone for my district?
It's absolutely par for the course for TNDP to just say, fuck it, and not run anyone. While they're sitting around with assholes like me that would have done it if they would have backed it.
But they won't. I mean, that's the thing, is they'll be like, no, I don't. How are you going? How are ye? Again, I'm in the middle of goddamn Nashville, where this is a standard Nashville accent, right? It's a little bit of twang sometimes, not a ton, but they're sitting there in Nashville going, well, how are you going to win the votes of those people out in Cheatham County? How are you going to do it? I'm like, well, by telling them the truth.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be a thing.
Unlike all the Democrats in Tennessee after Obama was elected, the right approach is to continue to go speak to the working man, even though he's white and a little bit racist.
It's the problem. The TN.
Looking at you, Lincoln Davis, you fucking pussy.
Right. I mean, the thing is, like, the TNDNP just, I feel like every time you want to look at them, be like, we're going to rebuild this year. You've been rebuilding for like 20 fucking years ever since McWhorter was governor.
Yeah, pretty
fucking
much.
Assholes.
All right, so David, I'm hell-bent, no matter what it takes, to spend the last few minutes getting you to actually go through this fantasy baseball scenario.
All right, go for it.
Before Brian's comment gets buried in the abyss of other comments, I want to retire Biden and then entertain where the fuck we go from there. So, Brian asks, does Newsom have a chance nationally? Now, he sees something in the tea leaves because he's already taken posture against DeSantis.
No. I mean, here's the thing. I'm sorry. A California Democrat is not going to pull anything from Pennsylvania. They're not going to pull anything from Michigan.
I think you're right.
And they're not going to pull anything from anywhere except they're instantly going to be painted as left coast.
Yeah. Newsom is a slick, pretty boy California Democrat.
Newsom is not that fucking inspiring, dude.
He's not. He is kind of he's kind of like a cardboard cutout. And also,
if you look at his policies about, economic populism at any level, Newsom has been busily wearing the knee pads and fellatiating Zuck, Bezos, all the rest about, I'm not going to fuck with your things.
Yeah,
I don't want to mess with Silicon Valley. I don't want to restrict the semi or real monopolies that you all have established in the tech sector. And going out of his way to make clear to those individuals, people who a lot of people are looking at being like, no, they need to be reined in. Bye, Brian.
Brian's on his way out. Now that
Nice
we
to
shot
have you.
down his Newsom fantasies,
We did shoot down his
gotta
Newsom
go.
fantasies, and
So let's talk about who else is waiting in the wings.
Newsom is not in the mix. I think Whitmer is in the mix.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I live here and I haven't gotten that vibe.
Well, here's the thing: Whitmer can actually stand up and say, "I
2 syllables.
What? Whitmer?
Mer.
It's Whitmer.
It's easy.
Sorry.
2 syllables.
She can actually she
there's
can
no vowel
stand up
there in
and
the middle.
say, I won the governorship of a purple state. I am a woman.
I understand infrastructure.
I understand infrastructure. I'm not I'm not from the progressive wing. I can appeal to the suburbs.
Okay.
I've faced adversity.
You know what I could get down with? I could get down with her on the same ticket as Fetterman. And I don't know if I care who's at the top.
Right. But I mean, Whitmer, I think is in the fight for that position. I don't know if she's looking for it, but I think she's in the right position to get it.
Yeah, I don't know. She's pretty focused on the governor thing right now.
Right. Who else?
What if? Let me throw you a crazy what if.
Oh, I've got one out of left field. Spanberger.
Gesundheit. Who?
Representative from Richmond suburbs, Henrico County. Spanberger. Former CIA analyst. She's definitely from the centrist side of the block.
Hey, Abby. Abigail Spanberger. There's so many damn representatives. You never know who's floating around.
But she got tapped. She got tapped very early on as a spokesperson for the we want reform, but we want gradual reform. We're in kind of the middle thing. But I mean,
Virginia's 7th district.
Mm-hmm.
Former CIA officer. Huh.
I think Spanberger should be included in the mix.
I don't know if she's a top ticket kind of person.
Here's the thing though. She's well spoken. She can hold up on her own. She can turn Trumpers a little bit because she's a CIA officer. It's hard for people to call her soft on defending America.
But they are just one weird OAN headline away from deciding the CIA is also part of the deep state.
I mean, there's that thing. But again, the suburbs are not watching OAN, right? The nut jobs are watching OAN,
right?
I think Spanberger has to be considered in the mix as a potential.
Let's abandon this.
At least maybe as a VP candidate.
I could see that. Let's abandon this luxury that we're expressing of people from the woodwork. Among big names, what do we have? I mean, there really isn't.
I mean, that could win. I mean, God knows. I'd like to see AOC on the bottom of the ticket, but that's not going to happen. Big names.
She's going to need years to get away from the baggage.
Swalwell, maybe, but I don't see him. Man, maybe future majority leader, but not.
Yeah,
he needs seasoning.
It's hard to get away from your Fetterman idea.
I don't really see another good. Brown isn't a good. I feel like he would imagine that should be there, but he's not gonna be.
Sherrod Brown.
Yeah.
So let me throw you my crazy idea for the moment. Is there anything that prohibits a Republican VP?
Nope.
So what if someone reasonable, not Cheney? I'm not going to go that far. But who's the guy that I like?
Oh, out of Illinois,
Kinzinger. What if we got ourselves a nice working class top of the ticket like Fetterman that teamed up with somebody like Adam Kinzinger, and they were to look at America and say, yo, we're the reasonable people that are like you. Because let's face it, we're not going to get an independent all the way to the White House.
has the party trader thing hanging around his neck.
Only for the nutters.
Really? Are you sure it's only for the nutters?
That nice Republican lady that I had beers and appetizers with on Saturday afternoon, I think, is a Kinzinger type person.
I mean, but here's the thing. I think Fetterman's economic policy, Kinzinger would look at what Fetterman would want to do in terms of economics, and that would turn Kinzinger off.
Yeah, but we all know that everything sounds great in the primary, and then they end up selling out to the platform. So I don't know that it matters. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I mean, here's the thing: we unity tickets have been proposed before, and they're hard because here's the thing: is that Kinzinger, if Kinzinger was to actually sign on to a unity ticket, it's not going to be with any Republican votes, is it? No. The Republican Party is not going to endorse a member of their party running for VP. So the problem is, how many Republicans does Kinzinger actually pull?
That's fair. Olivia has a theory of Phil Scott, Governor Scott in Vermont.
Yeah, the problem is, you're right. It's the name recognition. That's actually one of the things that DeSantis is becoming more and more concerned about, which is that the money folks think of him as a particular derogative word because he has a Hispanic last name. And they've made that very clear at CPAC and
really?
Other events. Yes. They will not back someone. I mean, again, this is how virulent the racism in the GQP has become, is that they can't even say his last name.
So
I mean, he has a serious. Here's the thing. I would love to see DeSantis do this, because the problem is his last name would turn off so many Republicans that I'd love it. I applaud the idea of DeSantis being the Republican nominee, because he would get absolutely crushed by no Republican turnout in a lot of places, because they're like, I'm not voting for one of them.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so we got a couple more names I want to throw across the table in the few minutes that we have left.
Yeah.
Abrams, or would it be too early?
Man. Okay, so I'm going to be brutal at this point. Going to be very brutal, and Stacey Abrams is a fantastic statesperson. She is absolutely a wonderful organizer. She's great at a lot of things.
You can say that the world's not quite ready for a large Southern black woman to be president.
Bingo.
It's okay. I was wrong about that.
If I'm being brutal, she's too fat. She's too fat.
I was wrong about it when I said the same thing about Obama, not the fat thing. But
too fat. It's I feel like that's what killed Chris Christie. Chris Christie was too fat.
That could be a reality. There's a lot of superficial that goes into it.
Too fat.
So let's flip the script and talk about the oh so debonair Cory Booker. That is a known name.
In political circles, if you know what you're talking about. But the other problem is, being senator from New Jersey, man, I don't know.
I mean, he was easily a third choice of mine many times.
Here's the thing. Booker isn't a fighter, and he is. Ooh. And the thing is, we saw in the debates, Booker was in the debates, wasn't he?
You think?
Booker was in the debates, wasn't he?
I know he was in the debates.
And did we see Booker pick up the sword and shield and say, I'm going to fight for the presidency? No. We didn't.
But do you think maybe that he was
He's-
playing the agreeable black guy role for a minute?
But the thing is, I think that's what Booker is. I think Booker is the agreeable black guy.
I don't know, man. He has had a lot of tough talk and a lot of impassioned speeches.
If you're looking for someone who's going to be a little bit more forward, Hakeem, is it Hakeem Jackson, representative? Is his last name Hakeem or is his first name Hakeem? I forget. That would be a better example of someone who's going to go fight. I think Booker has a bad habit. I would have put Booker as the Secretary of State all day long, right? Because he is a diplomat. What? Yeah. Oh, there we go. Hakeem Jeffries. There we go. Yeah. Hakeem Jeffries is a fighter. He was part of the impeachment team, and he is his speaking style, his delivery style is much more forceful. And I don't feel like Booker. I feel like Booker constantly wants to make everyone his friend. And the reality of being president is you can't make everyone your friend.
Looks like East New York is his district.
Oh, there we go.
Coney Island.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of water. Jesus, half of his district is under fucking water. No, like seriously, like literally half of his district. It's the bay. Like it's just water.
But yeah, Hakeem Jeffries would be someone that I like that might make that, but I don't think I think Booker is too agreeable.
I think at this moment in history, to me, one of the healthiest things in our next presidential election would be a full primary from both parties. Biden out of the way and a full primary from both Democrats and Republicans. America would easily have 24 different fucking nuts to choose from. Or I should say 20 fucking nuts to choose from and 4 possibly reasonable individuals, 3 of which will be on the Democratic side of that.
Right. I don't think Warren will run again. I don't think Sanders will run again. But again, I think AOC may run just to up her profile.
Yeah, okay.
Just to show that she can.
She's weird about her political ambitions, though. When people interview her and ask her about stuff, she's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get too far into the ugly.
I think she may look for senator, maybe governor. The problem is AOC is a lot of talk. And again, she's like Sanders. She's a lot of talk and not a lot of numbers. And so she's not my favorite.
Well, I think the moral of the story is that we tend to agree the thing that Biden needs to do is get out of the way.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
Win or lose this fall, I really feel like he needs to say, I did that. I got out of the way.
Yeah. And you know what? I feel like Biden could, if Biden wanted to cement a presidential legacy, if that's what he was after, turning around and stepping out of the way, number one, but more importantly, pointing to a viable contender for the presidency.
Yeah.
This is one thing that Democrats have a hard problem with.
Maybe sit back, wait for it to get down to 4, and then make an endorsement, be a kingmaker.
Yeah.
And then, for the love of God, make a fucking speech about how he wanted to show Donald Trump how king-making is actually done.
Right. And point to a successor. I don't think he's going to point to Harris. I don't think Harris expects him to point to him.
No. She'll have to get in the ring with everybody else.
I feel like Harris is going to. I mean, if I were to pick a new job for Harris, it would be maybe as a secretary of something.
I could see Harris in someone's cabinet.
Just so that it wasn't a matter of we threw you under the bus, right? But I mean, on the other hand, there's no possible way when she was talking to Biden about the vice presidency that she didn't realize that she was going to be thrown under the bus. So I like with Harris, I don't know what to say about that.
I I feel like Harris had one purpose in the whole world in this in the presidency, the Biden presidency, and it was to get him across the finish line. And I don't think they had a plan for her after that.
Nope,
And
they
it
did not.
shows. And honestly, it sounds like we're kind of pissing all over Harris, but that's not the case.
No.
She's so much more than this and should be and could be. And it's probably one of the biggest damn shames in recent memory, to be honest. But anyway, we got to jump off of here, ladies and gentlemen. We've hit the wall. But
we have.
Please feel free to tell your friends, tell your neighbors.
Please do.
We don't know for sure. This might be the new night. We'll have to feel it out. David's got some work chaos to navigate, so we're going to be flexible with his schedule. Tomorrow I'm at the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting. I think I'm going to be speaking about the increase to the salary cap for the city manager and city attorney, who are already making more than their counterparts in Nashville, a city 3 times this size.
Wow.
And I'm going to try to be diplomatic and point out that they should not be increasing salary caps. They should be adding jobs under them that help them do their job better.
That sounds right.
It's a more diplomatic approach, I hope, maybe. So apparently congressional hearings on militia groups tomorrow. That ought to be fun.
Yep.
So I'll be doing that. And then I've also got a short little list of non-Christian speakers who I've organized to speak to the Grand Rapids Commission about how we're not all in love with Jesus and maybe they should consider secularism. So,
and as always, if it's an off night and something breaks, you'll more than likely see me doing a solo show real fast to talk to you all about whatever has happened that day.
David often gets moved by the political spirit and cannot contain himself nor his beer.
Sam Adams lives in my balls.
And with that pleasant image, we will bid all of you good night,
good evening,
and good luck.
Good luck.